Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Women of Golf Show. I'm Ted Roderico, and right alongside, of course, each and every week is none other than Legends Tour player and LPGA professional Cindy Miller, and we are the hosts of the Women of Golf Show. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning.
How are you doing for this bright and early Tuesday morning?
I'm doing good, honey. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. We've actually been having some sunny weather here for the last week or so, but I think we might be getting into some rain because of the hurricane over in the Texas area, and apparently now it's going to be making its way through Louisiana and has been making its way through. So our thoughts and prayers go out to not only the folks in Texas, but those in New Orleans and other areas in that south part of the United States. Lots of flooding going on, so everybody be safe and pay attention to your local newscasts. But we're glad that you're joining us here this morning on the Women of Golf. Got a great show for you this morning. Cindy and I are, of course, going to start off with another discussion here in just a few minutes. We're going to talk about the short game this morning, just a few points there. And then a little bit later on in the second half of the show, we're going to be joined by Christina Thompson, the CEO and founder of golfforher.com, a great online pro shop, if you will, geared obviously for women. So we're going to talk to her in the second half of the show. But let me just, Cindy, remind everybody very quickly that we are live every Tuesday mornings, unless otherwise stated, from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Time on blogtalkradio.com. Just go to blogtalkradio.com, and up the search key, you can type Women of Golf, or just add a / onto blogtalkradio.com and add Women of Golf there, and that'll take you to the main page. And, of course, on the live broadcast, we are front and center. But for some reason, if you're not able to join us, you can still go to that link, blogtalkradio.com / Women of Golf, and just scroll down to the on-demand section, and you can listen to the show. The previously recorded shows, as well as today's show, will be on there afterwards, the recorded version, so you can listen to it when it's convenient. And as I mentioned many times before, we're also available at iTunes.com and Stitcher.com. If you go to either of those media platforms, and again, just type in Women of Golf, you can listen to the Women of Golf show on either of those platforms as a podcast. So be sure to check us out, and we thank you for all of your continued support. And don't forget, we always love to hear from you. You're welcome to call into the show during the live Tuesday morning broadcast. The number to call is area code 347-945-5855. And also, if you're interested in being a guest on the show, if you're somebody in the golf profession, you don't necessarily have to be a player or a teaching professional. You could just be maybe an entrepreneur, or maybe you've written a great book to help a lot of those folks out there in the golfing world. We would love to hear from you. So you can reach out to either Cindy or I, and her email is cindy@cindymillergolf.com, and mine, of course, is ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. And again, thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning. Cindy, just very quickly before we start into our discussion, I was just asking before we went live, you're going to be heading out. We're not going to have a show, by the way, so I'm advising you now. We will not have a show next Tuesday, which is the 5th of September. Cindy's going to be away. Where are you going, Cindy?
I am going to Pinehurst for the LPGA TNCP National Championship, which is going to be contested Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then Wednesday evening, I'm flying to Boston for the Legends Tour BJ's Charity Classic, which is Thursday morning, which is like, holy cow, I hope my flight hasn't canceled. And then Friday, there's another extra tournament with BJ's where there's a team atmosphere. There's 24 players, 12 teams. The front 9 is best ball, and the back 9 is a scramble, and I'm playing with Lori West. So I've been invited to play in that, and I'm thrilled. First place is $10,000 each, and last place is $5,000 each. Yeah, I feel special.
Yeah, not too shabby. That's right. That's a great thing. So, well, good luck in both, Cindy. We're always rooting for you, and I know that you'll always bring the best of your game. And we're going to talk a little bit about the short game here in just a second. But one of the things I also wanted to mention as well, Cindy, very quickly, while we've got a few minutes, is you've come up with a great product to help those that maybe struggle a little bit of their game. It's called the Learn to Hit It Kit. Give them a quick promo on that, and then we'll start in our discussion.
Yes, I created the Learn to Hit It Kit for those people who are too busy really to go for a golf lesson after work, so busy professionals who really don't have time. And it includes a portable mat, so you can really go out in your backyard or even in your living room, to be honest with you. It's got foam golf balls. It's got my Golf 101 book for professionals, and it's got a 10-module online course with PDFs attached to help explain what I'm trying to teach you in the 10-module course. So basically, you could sit there with your iPad laying on the ground and practice swinging in your living room or your backyard and learn how to play. And you get all of that for $99. And you can find it at learntohititkit.com or on Amazon if you click Learn to Hit It Kit.
Perfect. So make sure, folks, that you, after the show, visit either the website or Amazon and get yourself one of the kits. It's a great product, and Cindy's put a lot of hard work over the years and preparing for all of the things that she does, so it's definitely well worth it, so make sure you check it out. Thank you, Cindy, for that. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about the short game, Cindy, before our guest Christina comes on a little bit. And there's a lot of components to the short game. Obviously, one of the components, key components, is solid wedge play. If you look at any of the professionals, whether it's on the ladies or the men's tour, the better players are always very, very competent with their wedge play. And that's because, they need to be able to be solid in their ball striking, but also they need to be able to dial in when need be in order to go for the shots for the green or around the green. So just in your mind, Cindy, and you're certainly welcome to use your own game in that, what are some of the key components that most amateurs fail at when it comes to wedge play? What are some of the things, commonalities that you see that they seem to struggle with when it comes to using their wedges?
Well, I got to back up, and I just want to remind everybody, I'm playing in a couple tournaments coming up, and I have not changed my grips. So you guys need to realize how important it is to check your grips and make sure they're not too slippery. So we changed my grips, and you also want to check your golf shoes. So those of you who use cleats or spikes, needless to say plastic spikes, not metal spikes, but make sure you change your spikes. I don't know that people really pay attention to that, but so again, I changed my grips and changed my spikes, so I'm ready to roll. But what I see people doing is using the wrong wedge for the wrong shot at the wrong time. And what I mean by that is some of the people that I teach, when we do these playing lessons, they've got a pitch and run or a chip and run shot, and they've got a lot of green to work with, and they've got their 60-degree wedge in their hand. And I said, even if you hit this good, it's not going to get there unless you kill it, and then it's going to go by the hole. So the rule of thumb is keep it as low as possible, and the more you let it roll, the more you can mess up and make it work. And she or he who misses it best without getting ticked off wins. So remember to take a club that rolls more, play it, right foot is roll, left foot is loft if you're right-handed. So put the ball back on your right foot if you want it to roll, and put it on your left foot if you want it to be lofty. And the opposite is true for left-handers. And make sure that you figure out, like, landing at a third and letting it roll 2/3. What do you find?
Yeah, it's funny. The reason why I chuckle a little bit when you said, as soon as you mentioned the 60-degree wedge, is, a lot of times when I'm working with some of my corporate students, I'll say, well, grab your wedge and we're gonna work on some shots here. And the first thing they grab out of their bag is their 60-degree wedge. And I said, why did you grab that? Well, I need to get it up in the air. And I said, yeah, but you're not hitting over a target. In other words, you're not hitting over a bunker or some other obstacle, so you don't really need a lot of loft. And I'm sort of the same school as you, Cindy, as I believe, keep it as low as possible. Obviously, there's options or opportunities when you need to get it a little bit higher, but keep it low for a number of reasons. First off, and I see this all the time, especially with people hitting their 60-degree wedges, they go right underneath it. They take a full swipe at it, and the club face literally goes right underneath the ball. And if they do make a little bit of contact, it might get up in the air, but it doesn't go very far, and they're just not getting the distance they need. And you're right, it should be moving about 2/3. And I just think, and you're right, I want to go back to a point that you made in the very beginning, which was spot on. I don't know how many, folks that I get out on the lesson tee that I'll look at their grips and there's such a shine on them. I mean, I haven't seen a spit shine on a pair of shoes in the military as shiny as some of the grips I've seen. And it's just incredible. And they say, well, I don't really play that long yet, but when was the last time you changed your grip? Well, about 5 years ago. And I said, you can't play like that. Now, again, the spikes as well, that's another issue. I'll see some golfers, I'll watch them as they're walking, and as their feet are starting to curl up, I'll notice that there might be one or two or more spikes missing out of the bottom of their shoe, or the cleats that screw in. And, they wonder why they don't have good balance. They're there for a reason. And, like you, Cindy, I agree. I think that you have to make sure, number one, that your equipment is properly prepared. And then I think you have to make sure that you're making the proper club selection when it comes time. One of the things that also I see too is, and I don't know if you see this, is the ball position. I know you've mentioned this where it should be played, but I'll see players that need to hit more of a low running shot, and they'll play it way up towards their left foot. So obviously they're not going to hit a very low shot like that. Is ball position something that you try to focus on as well, to make sure that they're in the correct position when they're using their wedges?
Yes. Well, I think number one, we have to help them choose the right shot for the right situation. And I think that's a big deal. I think that some people don't really know how to choose a shot. And I think to help them identify the obstacles in their way and what's the best way to get through this. And again, miss it somewhere close to the hole.
Yeah. I think what's happened is, and I could be wrong, but I think what's happened is, too many amateur golfers see what the pros are doing and they try to emulate it. I'll give you an example. Years ago when Tom Kite, there was a lot of buzz on the tour. He had 4 wedges in the bag, more often than not when he was playing in his tournaments. And that sort of became a big deal at the time. So, of course, other pros were doing similar and, not a big deal. Well, a lot of amateurs thought, well, maybe I need to have 3 or 4 wedges in my bag too. So they started going out and getting all the wedges. But the problem was they couldn't use the one they already had in the bag very well, and now they've just added 2 or 3 more. And, I know folks that can take one wedge, might be their pitching wedge, and can play all kinds of shots. Lee Trevino was a great example. Now, I know he does use more than one wedge, but Lee Trevino can take pretty much any wedge in the bag and hit a high, low, shot, whatever he needs with just that one wedge. And I think that you have to learn how to use the clubs and use the loft properly before you worry about adding more clubs into the bag and just making a whole mountain of mess. And I think that, the more time that you practice proper technique, and that is remembering with the irons, folks, is that you're hitting down on the ball. You're not scooping or trying to help lift it in the air. The club face and the loft and the lie will do that for you. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of people do, is they play it too far forward and think, okay, I've got to kind of, hit at it and almost sweep it and get a little bit of an uplift with it when I hit the ball. And that's not the case with the wedge. You want to hit down and impart that backspin, and the club face will do the job for you. And that's something that I see a lot with some of the amateur golfers. How about you?
Absolutely. I just don't know that they're aware. And I think sometimes you need to You need to find a shot that you're comfortable with, and then what you can do is you can jerry-rig that shot. So I tell my students you can either use the same club and change your swing, or you can use the same swing and change your club. And you need to figure out which way you want it to be.
Right. You know, another thing, just going back to Tom Kite real quick, one thing that he talked about, he did, you know, a number of videos and a number of spots over the years, whether it be on the Golf Channel or other networks. And one of the interesting things that he always talked about was just very quick adjustment with his grip as far as choking down on the club, again, ball position. He could take the same club and hit multiple different shots that he might need on that any given day in a golf course. And that's, you know, so important. And the same thing with Lee Trevino, as I mentioned. This is what they did, is they made some very minor adjustments and were able to execute all kinds of different shots based on the shot that they needed at that particular time. So I guess what we're saying, folks, is this. First off, as Cindy pointed out, make sure that your equipment, make sure that the grips are in good shape and not slick and slippery, that the club face is going to be twisting and turning or even slipping out of your hand. And then also your shoes as well. Make sure that the spikes in the bottom are in good shape. And if they're getting worn or need to be replaced, for those that can replace them, then you need to do so. And that's something that you need to check, depending on how much golf you play, but certainly at least once a year if you're just an occasional golfer, but somebody that plays a lot of rounds throughout the year, you want to be checking them regularly and making sure that, one, you're not missing any, but two, that some of them haven't been broken or worn out or, as I said, missing all complete. So make sure you do that. And then what you need to do is make sure that you're executing proper technique, and that's where your teacher professional can help you out on the practice tee. The next, I guess, section as well for the short game, Cindy, is chipping. You know, we want chipping techniques, I guess, that deliver the results that we want. And chipping, again, is a shot that we want to have very, very little air time and lots of roll. Give us your thoughts on that, Cindy, and then I'll add a few as well.
Well, again, you've got to decide which shot. And if you're on the edge of the green, we teach a couple of different shots. We teach an elephant trunk swing, which would be, you know, play the ball back in your stance, put your hands forward, your weight on your front foot, I should say, whether you're left or right-handed, and then just swing your arms back and through, and you're de-lofting the club, and it's going to roll. The catch is that shot usually comes off the face pretty fast, and you could use anywhere from a 7, 8, 9 pitch gap sand wedge for that shot, depending on how far you want it to fly and how far you want it to roll. And then we teach a shot called the chop shot, which is what Alan uses. Alan has trouble with the elephant trunk, which is the stiff arm shot, and he was taught this shot by Lee Trevino, and basically play it almost outside of your right foot or your back foot, and it's 99% wrist. You just hinge your wrists up and chop right down on it, which is great out of Bermuda rough. Alan uses it everywhere. He uses it on the first cut or the fringe and in the rough and bad lies, which is great. Use a sand wedge for that shot. And then the third shot is the putting chip. And if you're in the first cut or you have a really good lie right next to the green and you would prefer to, really putt it, but you can't because there might be a lump in front of you or a divot or something, then the putting chip, you take like a 7, 8, 9 pitch and you address it as if it's your putter. So the toe's going to be on the ground and the heel's going to be way up, and then you just kind of do a little putting stroke and it'll plop right over and it'll be great.
Yeah, I the first two, I'm with you on that. Now, obviously, I'm not familiar with the chop that Lee Trevino has taught. I believe I've seen him do it before, but that's certainly one that obviously I haven't incorporated. But the first two definitely, I have with my students as well. And I think the key thing is, as you pointed out, Cindy, is there's really a variety of clubs. I've used a 7-iron. For some of my chips, if I've got a hole cut in the very back of the green, if it's a long green and I need a lot of roll, Obviously, I don't want to be using a wedge because it's going to stop well short and not get the run out that I need. So I want to get a club, maybe a 7 or an 8 iron in some cases, that's going to get over the impediment that I might be dealing with. Like you said, it might be the gook, but I want to make sure that I get lots of roll with my chip. So sometimes I might have to take a 7 or 8 iron to do that. And I guess really the thing, Cindy, that a lot of people that I would like to see is I would like to see them spend much more time on things like chipping, wedge play, and obviously putting, as I'm sure you do, than on their long game. I don't know how many times I'll just sort of sneak up to the range and hit some golf balls myself and chip and putt and do whatever, and I'll observe other people around. And it's amazing how many of them just, grab a bucket of balls, they'll go up to the teeing area, and they'll just hit, a bucket or so of balls, and then maybe go to the putting surface and make, 3, 4, 5 putts, and they might hit a couple of shots out of a bunker or what have you, and then they'll go to the first tee to play their round. And then they wonder why they collapse partway out, in there. And it's because they're spending 85% or more of their time on their long game. What do you suggest, and what do you try to instill in your students' minds to say, let's flip that a little bit, not necessarily have to spend 85% on the putting green or around the green, but how do you say, look, more of your effort needs to be in this area of the game than this area? What do you try to instill into them, and how do you convince them, if you will, to do that?
Well, I don't think you really can convince them until they feel enough pain. Again, I think that they, they need to be miserable enough, if you will, to realize that if they just were able to get it up and down, and how many shots they're losing by not being able to get it on the green, especially when, if they can't reach the green in regulation, if you can get on the green in 1 over regulation and 2 putt, you can shoot 90. So when you're 30 or 40 yards away from the green and you make a 6 or a 7, that's ridiculous. Because even if you're 110 and you can swing, you can get it on the green and 2 putt. So that's my 2 cents.
No, that's great. You're exactly right. I think that a lot of people, this is what always amazes me, is, you will see a player get to the green in 2, or certainly close to the green in 2, and then shoot, like you said, a 6 or a 7, or even a snowman, which is of course an 8, and you'll sit there and scratch, and you've just wasted 4 or 5 or 6 shots around the green, and they still don't get or understand the fact that if they would work on these short game shots, as we've indicated here this morning, that they can increase the percentage of saves on a hole like that. I mean, if they can get there in 2, they can obviously hit a decent shot. So they don't need to be working constantly or the majority of their time on their long game. Where they're losing it is around the green. And, it's like driving a tent stake in with a marshmallow. It's just not going to happen. And that's, I know that's a terrible,
that was good.
terrible
that
metaphor,
was good.
but it's true. I mean, you need a mallet to drive a tent peg in, and you see people out there with a marshmallow, and it's just they don't get it, they don't understand, and it doesn't matter what you say to them, how you talk to them. And I think what a lot of it is and I can relate to this a little bit. It can be at times, if you don't use a little bit of imagination, it can get a little boring. It's not as exciting as thrashing a long drive out there, 250 or 275 or even 300 yards for the big hitters. It's not as exciting. But what's more exciting is coming in to the 19th hole with your buddies, and you've got a par 72 circled or even a 75 on your scorecard as opposed to a 95. And they just don't seem to understand that you can literally shave 20 strokes off your game very easily by just getting out there and working on your short game. The last one I'm going to throw in here, and then we're going to have to get ready for our special guest this morning, is the putting yips. We've all had them at times. Cindy, I'm sure you've had them. I know some people don't like to even talk about it, but I think we've got to address that. What are your thoughts there? What in your mind causes that? And what are some things that you try to do to help or would suggest to golfers that may be suffering a little bit with that?
Our son had the yips when he was in college. And really what it is fear. And
yes.
We sent him to a couple of different places to help him get over the putting yips. And what we did was, Debbie Cruz, who's amazing, I love Debbie Cruz, she's a PhD professor at Arizona State, and she's an LPGA teaching professional. He went there and spent the weekend with her. And what she said was she's done all kinds of research with the Mayo Clinic on the yips, and that you have to trick your brain. Your brain, it's like an anchor when you get the yips, and you can't get out of it unless you trick your brain. So she told him to change putters, change his grip, change all kinds of things just to trick his brain. And I must tell you, it worked. He came back from that adventure, and he birdied the last hole in a college tournament at Augusta State to beat Webb Simpson by one. He shot 70, 64, 70. So I can tell you that It really did work, and she helped him get over the yips. But I think you also have to be aware. Don't deny that you have them. And one thing that Hubert Green told my husband Alan is grip it a little tighter with the palm of your right hand or your backhand, and really, really let it, grip it tight. And that seemed to help as well.
Yeah, just very quickly, I'll just add to that. I think that you do. That was some great advice that she gave your son. I think sometimes you have to make those changes, just to, as you said, trick your brain. A lot of people at some point will have something similar. It may not be completely the yips, but they'll have something similar happen where they lose confidence in their putting. And a lot of times they're not focusing on the right areas. For instance, they don't sort of put any thought into their practice routine. They'll get up there and they'll hit 2 or 3 long putts to simulate a lag putt. Then they'll get in there about 3 to 4 feet from the hole and figure, well, if I just sink 3 or 4 of these things here, that'll give me some confidence. And really, what you want to be focusing on is focusing on the speed of your putts, because you want to understand when you go to a golf tournament, you want to understand the speed of the greens, what you're going to be dealing with. The aiming and so forth is something, in my opinion, is secondary, because if you don't have the speed right, you can aim perfectly every single time, but if the speed's incorrect, you're either going to be short or you're going to be extremely long every time. And I think that once you have the speed, you can make very subtle adjustments to your aiming and be a successful putter. But the speed is crucial. And if you talk to most putting coaches, they'll tell you how paramount it is to have your speed down more so than even your aiming. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that, but I found that once a player is confident with the speed of their putts, it's much easier to get them to aim a little bit better, whether their feet are slightly open, as Nicholas used to do, or others that maybe have a little bit more closed stance. That's irrelevant. Whatever's comfortable for you is what will work for the individual golfer. But the speed, in my opinion, is one of the most important things to make in making a good putter. What are your thoughts quickly, and then we'll bring Christina on.
Distance control, again, is utmost of importance.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Distance control.
Yeah, and that follows, of course, with the speed of your putts. These are just some quick things that we wanted to talk about. Obviously, there's a whole myriad of things about the short game, but Cindy and I can't emphasize enough, folks, is especially for some of you newer golfers out there, if you're going to spend time out on the practice tee, that's an area, putting green, around the green, chipping, some of your wedge play and your putting are the areas that we can't emphasize enough is where you need to spend a lot of your time. Certainly you need to work on your long game, and those are things and techniques that you can work with your teaching professional. But when you have a practice session on your own, those are things that you want to be working on, because that's going to help your numbers out on the golf course. On that note, Cindy, let's introduce our very special guest this morning. Her name is Christina Thompson. She's the CEO and founder of golfforher.com, which is an online pro shop dedicated solely to women's golf. She's an avid golfer herself. Christina says she was tired of seeing the same styles of women's golf clothes everywhere she went, so she decided to take matters in her own hands, and of course, she put it, the rest is history. By partnering directly with some top designers and brands, she has created an online shopping experience where women can shop a curated collection of styles that blend the perfect balance of performance and style. Golf for Her has grown rapidly since its inception in 2010 and was ranked as the 9th fastest growing retailer on Pinterest. Christine has been outfitting thousands of female golfers with styles that allow them to express their personal and performance needs, from weekend hackers to the LPGA Tour players. So without further ado, let's welcome our very special guest this morning, CEO and founder of golfforher.com, Christina Thompson.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. I'm so excited about what you're doing. Tell us.
Well, I'm really excited to hear that that people are excited about women's golf clothes and having more options and places to shop for them. So, so in a nutshell, it's Golf for Her, and it's the number 4. It's a great online. Well, I believe it's a great online website for women to have a dedicated place to come and shop for, the latest trends in women's golf fashion, accessories, and now we're pulling in some gear.
Wow. Awesome. I used to have, I still have a shirt business, and I did embroidery. I used to custom applique stuff, and I sold things at Augusta and all this other stuff. So I absolutely love clothes. I love what you're doing, and I'm so impressed. It's awesome. So how did you start it?
Well, I'm an avid golfer, and I started playing golf back in, it's about 17 years now. And I've always been a little bit of a nonconformist when it comes to clothes. I mean, I went to my high school and my grade school, I had to wear uniforms, and I always hated being told what to wear. So then, bringing golf into my life, there was always these rules around dress code and what you can wear. And, I'm tall, and I was, always rather lanky, and I always had a hard time finding golf clothes that actually fit my body and made me feel comfortable. So when I started playing golf, I was really challenged with finding something that I wanted to wear in sport, and it almost derailed me from actually continuing to play golf because I absolutely hated the golf clothes that I would wear and hated the fabrics. I just hated the fit. And then, I continued playing because I love the sport. And then, as I don't belong to a country club, so I wasn't privy to country club shopping, so I didn't, have access to shopping. And then I would look, in local shopping malls here in New Jersey, and just really challenged with finding great things. And then as I started playing, my husband and I were traveling a lot playing golf, and I would go into these different clubs or different locations and see some pretty neat golf clothes. And I said, this is interesting. I'm like, there are golf clothes out there, but I don't have access to them because I don't live in Florida. I don't live in Southern California. I don't live where these hotbeds of golf, outlets and stores are. So, as I continued playing golf, I'm like, what? I think I need to do something. And obviously in New Jersey, we're not, we don't have a very long golf season. So it didn't make sense to open up a store. But I started thinking, wait a second, I'm a marketer. I've always been, that's been my profession. And I thought, wait, there's got to be an option to do something online. And this is really when online shopping really started to become very popular. And I don't know, I just kind of poked my nose around. I headed down to the PGA Merchandise Show back in 2009 or 10 and realized, oh my God, there are so many great clothes out there. Wait, I need to pull this all together in one spot because I know I cannot be the only female golfer who is having a hard time finding really great, fun golf clothes. And honestly, the rest was really history. It just kind of came together, and I launched the business in 2010. I have never looked back. It's been so much fun uncovering new styles for women.
So let me ask you: do you don't store all this stuff? How do you fill the orders?
Yeah, so what's pretty exciting is just the evolution of online shopping. And so Golf for Her, we are an online pro shop. We have customers that are around the world, and we do we do have brands of tons of different brands on the website. But, stocking it is a little challenging, especially for a small business. Our model is set up as a dropship model. So customers can come to our website, they shop all of the different brands that we have, and then what we've done is partnered with all of the top designers, small designers, big designers, and what happens is they actually will ship the merchandise directly to our customers for us. So we are able to offer more colors, more sizes, more options, more collections. So you're not limited to just a few pieces. You have more options to shop for, your own personal needs. So it's been a really fun way to shop, and honestly, everyone's shopping online now. Well, a majority of people are shopping online, so they're used to getting, shopping online, getting packages, multiple packages. So it's been a very interesting evolution in the online e-commerce world, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
That's awesome.
Let me just add. This is Ted, Christina, by the way. Let me just add very quickly to that. This obviously gives you a big advantage, really, over to a lot of your competitors out there by not having to, because one of the issues that a lot of the box stores retailers have is having to carry a lot of stock, so there's increased overhead. So you virtually have really no overhead, correct?
For the most part, compared to traditional, yeah, correct. And what's really great is, in general, when you go into a pro shop, there's very limited selection for women, right? So no matter if you go into some of the big box stores or into your local pro shop, the selection is always smaller. And if you think of that, the reason being is there's a lot of variables that go into that. And the number of female golfers that are out there it is smaller than men. So it makes sense that if you're going to have a brick and mortar store, regardless of the size of it, it's going to equate to the number of, men versus women who are playing golf. But then you start looking at it going, well, now you're at a pro shop and, you might have 60 women at your club, but then they're all shopping off of the same rack. And, unless you're playing in a tournament, you really don't want to wear the same clothes that the other women at your club are wearing too. So, but the clubs are kind of in a sticky, position there where they really can't bring in so much inventory because there's really not enough demand for it in their shop. So unless you're a specialty pro shop where it's a destination like Pebble Beach or where you're really able to sell a lot of merchandise and put the logo on it, your local pro shops are really challenged. And then you go into a big box store, and again, it's the same, mathematics that go into determining the percentage of women's clothes versus men, and you always will end up with a smaller amount of options. But at Golf for Her, we are 100% dedicated to women. So we are able to offer, the entire Adidas collection, the entire Puma collection, all of the brands, and we can offer them all year round. So sometimes if you're up north, it's hard to find, a sleeveless shirt in the middle of the winter for your travel down south, maybe to go on vacation, to go play golf. But, being that we're online, we have access to all styles, all colors, all, every collection that's available. When it's available on our site. So we've kind of been able to kind of navigate that and be able to offer women just, access to golf clothes 365 days a year, which is really fun.
And
that's so amazing.
Yeah, that gives you, as I said, a great advantage. And I like the fact, too, you're exactly right. Even for the men, you go to a lot of the big box stores, and one of the issues I have, I'm a tall individual as well. I'm 6'4" and fairly slender. And one of the issues I have is trying to find my size in some of the products that they have. Is they're always sold out because they can only carry so much inventory, and they're basing it on a percentage of the golfing population fits in this particular mold here. Where I like your concept is you have access to the full line of multiple lines, 24/7, 365 days a year. So you have, as they change their trends or as they change their styles, you're always up to date. You don't have to worry about that. That's really taken care of for you. You're just basically a platform that allows them to come sort of a one-stop shop and see the best of everything available out there, and I like that. What's some of the trends in women's golf fashion right now? What are some of the things that you're seeing as the new season comes into play?
Yeah, it's crazy to think that summer is slowly coming to an end in the next week or so. But fall styles are looking great. They're already starting to hit our website now. Some of the style trends for fall golf fashion is, I would say it's a little bit of a back to basics. There's a lot of really beautiful soft color palettes that are happening right now. A lot of pale pinks balanced out with classic navy, which is kind of taking over black, so navy is the new black. Really warm colors like softer greens and oranges and tangerine colors are filtering their way through a lot of golf fashion as far as just the color palettes. We've got a lot of styles this season that have a little bit of that country club prep feel to it. Really classic fits. A lot of designers are starting to make polos, and they've been doing this the last few years, but making polos that are fit and cut for the female body. They're not so boxy as they have been in seasons past. So the evolution of shirts has been really great to see, just really nice fabrics that designers are starting to blend a little bit of that cotton blend with a performance fabric. We went through this big phase of everything being like super techie. People think of like that Nike techie fabric, which is not that flattering on a lot of bodies. And so they've started, where I'm going with that, Cindy. But, so it's not, it's a great idea, and I think it's great because, golf is a sport that you sweat and you need to be very comfortable in. So those moisture-wicking fabrics, are very popular, and they're going to maintain and, stay within in golf fashion. But, I think designers are realizing, wait, we can't be just all techie fabric. We need to figure out how to bring a little bit more of a forgiving fabric, something that has a lot of more of a cotton feel, where softer, not so shiny, but still perform like some of those, performance fabrics. So I'm seeing a lot of designers bringing in some like a cotton feel shirt into their collections. Eye-catching prints are still really popular and aren't going away. I think in women, I love fun, bright patterns and prints in skirts, and that is a trend that we're seeing more of. And one of the interesting things I'm noticing in bottoms is two things. One, designers are making several styles with a little bit more of a tummy control and slimming, design and fabrics to make them, and they're very comfortable to wear. A lot of pull-on styles are becoming very popular instead of the traditional, zipper fly and snap closures. They're very easy to wear. You can wear them on and off the golf course. So I think versatility is really important when you're buying golf clothes. And another thing I'm seeing is designers offering multiple lengths in their skirts. So, instead of
That's
traditionally
a great
having
idea.
all. Yeah, and again, I'm 5'10", so an 18-inch skirt on me is going to look different than an 18-inch skirt on someone who's 5'2". And when you think, so imagine the average woman. It looks different. So a lot of designers are offering shorter and longer lengths, and then even like a longer club length. So designers are starting to see that just because a club says you have to have an 18-inch skirt. Is it really 18 inches, or does it need to be to your knee? Because our knee, our heights are different. So it's nice to have more options. And when women are beginning to understand that and see that, and making different choices on some of the golf bottoms that they're purchasing. So that's really exciting to see. And there's also actually a lot of designers that are offering now a 2XL. So we're offering extended sizes too, more than we have in the past. So, there's the petites. So designers are offering double zeros, and then they're also now offering a 2XL. And then there are a few designers now who are offering even a plus size 1X, 2X, and 3X sizes too. So there's more options. We're golfers. We come in all shapes and sizes, and we need golf clothes to fit our personal needs. So it's good to see that. That's a nice trend, and I hope it doesn't stop.
For sure.
Christina, let me ask you something. Obviously, we know that your website's geared for women in that, but what's sort of the demographic within that? What's the if I don't know if you have a way of monitoring it or not through your system, but the age demographic, what's predominantly the age group purchasing through your site, and does it sort of encompass all ages for women? Because this is a problem I hear with a lot of the mature women out there, is that a lot of the retailers now are sort of gearing for the younger generation, and there's limited availability for them. Is that something that you're able to sort of overcome and have something for a little for everybody, or what? How do you focus things?
Yeah, it's a great question. I get asked that a lot. The reason why we called the website Golf for Her, it's because it's for her. And women who are golfers, they come in all ages. There's junior girls, there's women in their 20s, and women who are, more mature women who are in their 60s and 70s who are playing golf. And we all have different needs. And there hasn't been a great place to be able to shop all of those different requirements. And so, I would say that our true demographic is probably a female between the ages of, 35 and 65. That's a pretty wide demographic, but we have women of all ages that shop with us. And that is also why we're very selective in the brands that we do carry, and we don't focus just on one genre of, apparel to meet one small group of female golfers. We want more women to play golf, and if I can introduce women of a younger age or an older age to play golf and just be able to say, hey, look at our website, we've got so many different things, there's guaranteed to be something there for you, that's what we do. So we do have some brands that are a little shorter, maybe a little more flirty, a little bit more youthful. But then we do have some brands that are a little bit more conservative. So, a little bit longer skirts, shirts with a little bit more of a arm coverage, maybe to the elbow. We have apparel that, offers wonderful sun protection that give women, better coverage, throughout, when they're out in the sun, and who are very sensitive and, concerned about skin cancer and making sure that they stay sun safe. So we have a variety of different types of brands. So we're not, gearing towards the younger women, but we're also not gearing towards the, traditional female golfer that I think a lot of people think of when they think of women's golf clothes. So, that we have at any given time, I think, 20,000 products on the website. So there's something for everyone on there. So, and every day we get I uncover a great new designer that we're trying to bring into the mix that, will round out the offering. So we're always looking for something new, but like I said, our demographic is, the core is kind of in that range, but it's not limited to. We understand that there's women that have requirements for the golf club that they play at. And then we've got women who are just learning, and they really don't have to abide by the really super strict dress code rules of their club. So they have a little flexibility in their clothes. So we realize that women are coming from all different places, and we want to be able to provide a really fun shopping experience for them and to be able to offer a little bit of everything for everybody.
Wow, that's fantastic. Cindy, go. Yeah, that's perfect. Cindy, go ahead.
I just think, why would you want to eliminate anyone? You want the younger fashion, and you want the younger customer and the older customer. You want everybody.
Yeah, the more women who play golf, the better for everything.
And I live in Buffalo, so I hear what you're saying. I go down to Orlando because our daughter and son-in-law work at the Golf Channel, and I go to the PGA Superstore, and it's like I'm a pig in poop there. I'm like, oh, my God, look at what we got. And nobody carries this in Buffalo. And so to know that I can get whatever I want from you, that's awesome.
Yep. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I have to say, every January when I get to go down to the PGA show, I get so excited. You would think that we were going on this exotic vacation. I go down there and I'm like, oh, look, I wish everyone can see everything that's here. It's just so fun to see the really neat brands that are out there and for women, and it's fun. And I try to encourage women to look at golf, and look at golf clothes as fun too, because you can express a lot of your personality through what you tee it up in. So it's good to have options. We definitely are. That's our focus.
We all need options.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Cindy, go ahead.
Yeah.
So you have some ambassadors on the tour, and
sure do.
A few of them finished in the top 10. Tell us about who they are and what they do. And
yeah, well,
I think
one
you
of the
also have Myra. Do you have Myra on yours?
Myra Blackwelder. Yes. Well, real quick story. So when I launched the business back in 2010, one of the I was at the PGA show, and one of the very first people I ever met in this golf industry that we're in was Mallory Blackwelder, which is Myra's daughter. And Mallory came on as our brand ambassador within weeks of launching the business back in 2010. So Mallory has been a part of the Golf for Her fiber since day one, and so obviously I know Myra very well, and so excited to see her playing out there on the Legends Tour. And, so we've been wardrobing her and giving her some clothes too. So you can see we can
awesome.
do mother-daughter. I mean, we've got Mallory that we're dressing. She's another Big Break alum with yourself, and, with Myra. So it shows the full range of, fashion options that are out there. But so right now we have some really great women, and we have a great team of ambassadors that are out there really representing women's golf, and who are, they're smart, they're athletic, they're driven, and I just think that's really what some young girls need to see right now, and to realize you can be a great female athlete. And so we have, on the LPGA Tour right now, we are the apparel sponsor for Marina Alex, who is our local Jersey girl who's on the LPGA Tour, Tiffany Joe, Jane Park, and Mo Martin, who was the 2014 Rico British champ. Yep. So Jane, Marina, and Mo all had great finishes this past week at the Canadian Pacific Women's Open. Marina actually, I think her best career finish at T3 this weekend, and Mo and Jane also finished top 10. So that was fun rooting for Team Golf for Her up in Canada. It was easy to follow them on the leaderboard. But we also have we started off having our ambassadors on the Symetra Tour, and for us it's really important to help give these women options, or options to financial help, to help them, because it is really hard. I mean, the girls on the Symetra Tour, it's really hard to compete, and they have to spend a lot of money to get to where they want to go. So, we've always been the apparel sponsor for several Symetra Tour players, and, I know every little bit helps them. So, right now on tour we have Madison Pressel, who is Morgan Pressel's younger sister, who's on the Symetra Tour, Carolyn Westrup, who is also Symetra Tour, LPGA Tour player. But then we also have this arsenal of additional ambassadors that have all been a part of Golf for Her over the last 7 years, such as Mallory Blackwelder, Anya Alvarez, Stephanie Knoyer, Nicole Smith, Sarah No-H Brown. I mean, these are all Big Break alum too. So, but, it's been so fun getting to meet the girls, seeing them, and really rooting for them, and seeing how hard it really is to have a career as a professional golfer. And the money isn't there for them, and it's really hard. So, anything we can do to help them alleviate some of their financial burden is kind of what we've done, and we want to see more women playing golf. So, they've always been a part of our family, and they always will be. They're not going. They're in for life.
That's great.
But it is fun having Tiffany, Marina, Jane, and Mo are such great ambassadors for the sport. And we always encourage everyone to get out there and go to an LPGA event, go follow these girls, and really get a feel for the power and the strength that they have, and that unfortunately sometimes gets overlooked. And I think you'd be really impressed, if people go out and follow them and really see what they can do. I mean, Mo, I think, is the most accurate tour player, male or female, like greens hit. I mean, she's got some crazy great stats.
Yeah, she really does. And she's such a nice person. So I used to do a lot of stuff with Symetra Tour, and one of our students, Renee Sobolewski, was a teammate of Marina's. So I played with Marina here in Buffalo with Renee, and they're great girls, and they really work hard, and they may not be household names, but they're definite competitors, and they can play this game better than most.
Oh, for sure.
They're awesome.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Wow. And it's nice to have so many great representatives of any business, but particularly with what you do, because you obviously get to see it each and every week when they're out there. They're wearing a lot of the clothes that that they're getting through Golf for Her, and so that obviously makes you feel a little extra proud as well that you're doing something to give back to the game on your end as well. I just want to close, and if we can, very quickly, because I think it is important. I know this was something that you mentioned in the notes that you sent to us, and I think it just epitomizes really the strength that you have to have sometimes in life. Shortly after, of course, you launched your business, you were diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer, and then about a year later, you had endometrial cancer as well. Tell us a little bit about what you obviously went through and what sort of kept you focused on through your journey there.
Yeah, it was about 18 months after I launched the business and that I was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer, and you can't sugarcoat it. It's awful. It sucked. It's not fun. I mean, it was 6 months of pretty intense chemotherapy, but during that time, I learned a lot about myself, and I used golf as my mechanism to focus on something else other than the medical situation I was going through. And
right.
I played golf every chance I could get. I would play early in the morning when I was feeling really great, and it gave me 4 hours, and I don't know how I made it 4 hours, but I would play 4.5 hours of golf, and it gave me something to think of outside of, I got to go to my chemo treatments tomorrow or the next day. But it wasn't easy. I mean, honestly, I think I played the best golf of my life during that period, but it was something that really, it was, my husband still laughs at the scores I was putting down, because he's like, you're playing the best golf you've ever played. But it really helped me focus. I mean, golf is such a great sport. It brought me together with a lot of friends and family that I hadn't seen. So you would say, hey, you want to go play golf? Sure, let's go play golf. So it was a great tool, and I'm not going to say it saved my life, because but it was definitely something that I had to lean back on during a really difficult time, and also made me focus more on doing things and being with the people that I cared the most about, and ensuring that I spent quality time with them. And I was able to do that around golf. And during that time period, I developed great friendships that, have, continued to be great friends. And they're my golf girls that I go out with all the time. And, golf is a great sport for that. And it, people don't realize it, and they think of it, oh my God, it's 4 hours. I'm going to waste 4 hours. Well, there's not many things you can do in life that you can go spend 4 hours with your close friends and family, and with very limited, distractions. So golf was very important to me during that time period, and it still is. And that's why we really encourage women to take up the sport and figure out a way to make it part of their life. And I am very grateful for having golf in my life and give me a little bit of a distraction during that time. So it was very special to me.
Yeah, and it was a great story, and I'm glad that you shared it with us, and I'm glad that you allowed us to share it with our audience as well. And we're grateful that obviously you're in a better place now. Just for the last moment or two, if you want to share with the folks how they can get in touch with, obviously give them your website and let them know maybe if some things coming up in the next little bit that maybe you want to make them aware of. The floor is yours.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we invite everyone to swing by golfforher.com. It's golf, the number 4, HER.com. And, take a poke around if there's anything that, you have questions with. If anyone needs assistance navigating the site, we have a great customer concierge team that is here to help. You can always ask for me. Our contact information is all on the website. You can reach out to myself or our team here, and we'll be happy to help. We've got loads of new products that are coming onto the website, especially getting ready for the holiday season. So we'll be doing a lot of special promotions. So you want to make sure you sign up on the mailing list so you can get all of our promotions. We've got some special deals that are going on, and we are also doing a series of golf clinics here in New Jersey and around the country over the next few months. So, look for our Say Yes to Golf initiative. So you'll be able to stay in the loop as far as, some upcoming golf clinics and special programs that we have for the women to get them out playing golf.
Awesome.
But it's golf
Perfect.
number 4.
Well, thank you, Christina, for joining. Thank you. Thank you, Christina, for joining Cindy and I this morning on the Women of Golf Show. It's been a pleasure to have you join us, and we hope that you'll join us again in the future for another broadcast. But keep up the great work. It sounds like you've got a phenomenal business that you're offering so many of the female golfers out there, both new and old. And please keep up the great work. And again, thank you for being our guest this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Have a great day.
All right.
You too.
You're right. Bye-bye. All right, that was our very special guest, Christina Thompson, the CEO and founder of golfforher.com. That's the number 4, her.com. Please check out the website. Certainly a lot of great things. I've been on it myself. Unfortunately, I can't buy anything for me, but a lot of great gift ideas on there, of course, for that young female golfer that you may have in your family. So check it out, and a lot of great stuff there. And as I mentioned earlier, Cindy and I will not be back next week, which is September 5th. Cindy's got some things that she's going to be doing. I've got some things as well that I'm going to be doing. So we will be back on September 12th will be the next broadcast that we will air. But in the meantime, thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning on the Women of Golf Show. We appreciate it always for you faithfully tuning in, and we look forward to bringing another great show in a couple of weeks. So thanks, Cindy, as always. God bless everybody, and thank you for joining us on the Women of Golf. Take care.
Thanks, Ted. Bye-bye.
Bye.